All right, live on the Forrester B2B Summit marketplace floor. So thankful to the Forrester team for making this possible. Get some great interviews here, Kate. We've been talking to Forrester analysts, we've been talking to CMOs, we've been talking to ROI winners, and just covering a wide gamut of go-to-market strategies, tactics, a little bit of AI because, it's 2025. We have to talk about it. But I'm excited to talk to you about event-led growth. So very excited. Kate Hammett, who is the VP of Marketing at Cvent, CMO at Splash. Event-led growth. What is that?
It's something that's been around.
Yeah.
We're starting to really put a label on it, as marketers love to do. Get some parameters around what is event-led growth.
Yep.
Thinking about like product-led growth, partner-led growth, enter event-led growth. Essentially how you use the event channel as a true marketing channel to drive pipeline, revenue, expansion, and be really strategic about it. So, the one-off event moving into event programs instead of just doing, things ad hoc, really looking at your pipeline and saying, how do I need to augment here? Where do I need to engage prospects? Where do I need to engage post-sale? And bringing that all together and making sure that it aligns with strategy.
It totally maps. I mean, as we get more and more AI doing jobs at a digital level, as AI makes it easier, faster, cheaper to send messages out, we're actually creating a bigger problem in marketplaces. I mean, as a CMO, I'm sure your email inbox is even worse now because of AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when we overcrowd those channels, we need to invest in places where you can have real meaningful interactions, where you can create real meaningful relationships. And I think that's where events really come to play, where you can have that multi-sensory experience.
Exactly.
Where you can differentiate something that is for individuals, and then where you can think about it not just as that point event. I loved your comment about programmatic versus ad hoc. And thinking this is not a random acts of events, but really creating a sustainable, repeatable program around that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that human connection is so much more important now. And there are ways of using AI within deploying events and managing that channel that are effective. But anytime we talk to practitioners or I'm talking to fellow CMOs who aren't on board with events, I'm like, is a digital touch point, an ebook, going to be more impactful than a sit down with your most important prospects or your most critical customers? Seems like a no-brainer.
But Kate, it's a lot cheaper just to send an email. It scales a lot better. Email's way more efficient. These are some of the things I hear from people that say, well, I'd rather use some of these digital channels, but do those really create the differentiation you need and want to be able to break through the clutter and actually create real differentiation and value with the people you're trying to engage and sell to?
Yeah. And I mean, Forrester analysts will tell you it's at least 30 touch points that we need to do. So there needs to be that multi-touch. There needs to be that omni-channel approach, not one or the other. But we have yet to see events not adding to pipeline when they're embedded in the strategy and adding value there.
Can we talk about the difference between in-person events like we're at here today and virtual events? I mean, they both have their value. I hear a lot of folks say webinars are dead. Virtual events are really hard to differentiate. I completely disagree. What are some of the elements of good virtual events that can help you really maximize the experience and relationship value there?
Yeah. I think first and foremost, like the webinar virtual event is so critical for that mass brand awareness. And of course, you can tie that directly to pipeline. But when I think about where virtual events can really accelerate a strategy, it's mostly that top of funnel. And so when you're thinking about the KPIs there, you're looking at how much interaction with an ICP, whether they're in market or not, are you getting within your markets and making sure that your message is reaching there. Another great use case for webinars that I love is taking messages out for a spin and getting that feedback from the market. That was how event-led growth came to be sort of our mission. We were hearing messages from the market and then realizing that this content around event-led growth was getting the response from the market of, hey, this is helping me be better at what I'm doing. Another great way for, I think, webinars to fit within the strategy appropriately is that post-sale engagement and education. And so the KPIs there would be the product adoption and engagement metrics, customer marketing and community really care about.
I think a lot of companies fail when they think about the event as the be all end all of the event strategy, as opposed to thinking about the event itself as a component of a broader motion. Like, talk about the importance of the pre-event and the post-event motions to really round out the experience and maximize the return on that investment in events in the first place.
Yeah, so I think one great takeaway from pre-event is the data capture.
Yeah.
So understanding the hearts and minds of your ICP, getting that into your systems of record, being able to action on that either in content, messaging, future sales motions, but there's no better way to start to understand and get that first party data during the event. From a content perspective, this is like the content amplifier. So when you're taking that message out at the event, it's a repurposer's dream. How do you get that event snippet into your digital ads, into podcasts, into white papers, infographics, what have you? That's where so much content is generated. We did this a lot at Splash. Everything revolved around our events, and then we amplified that elsewhere. And then the follow-up for the event, I think, is absolutely the most important. If you're engaging during the event effectively, you can get that hand raiser, understand who might be dealing with specific challenges, start to basically create a personalization strategy that you can follow up on after, and then create those lanes appropriately.
I just want to reiterate the repurposable factor for events, whether you're doing things in person or whether you're doing them remotely. Like a good videotaped event, that shows my age. A videoed event, a recorded event, all that. You think about all the ways you can repurpose that. Like you have it live. You can promote it live. It's going to be live. You can promote that it is live. You've got something on demand. AI tools can break that into snippets, into audio-only snippets, into video snippets, into a transcript. And so over and over again, you can use that so often. And I think that too often marketers, like we do the event and then we're immediately on to the next event.
Yes.
Right. And we fail to leverage this high value asset that you just invested a ton of effort in, the long tail, and not just in terms of the follow up from people that may have attended that event or didn't attend and then your sales follow up, but the long tail of leveraging that content. For the people that couldn't attend, for the people that did attend but need to hear it again, right? For other people in the buying committee that couldn't make it, but you're trying to build consensus, so there's components of that they need to hear as well. If the event and the content is tied tightly to a good editorial calendar, tied to your buying journey and your buying committee, the long tail is like, does it ever end?
It really does. And you can reuse that year over year. I mean, there's so much evergreen content that comes out of it. I love always you talking about kind of random acts of marketing. I feel like if you're going through an event cycle and that event content just lives once, you need deep reflection.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
We're live on the Forrester B2B show floor with Kate Hammett. She's the VP of Marketing at Cvent, CMO at Splash. Combining teams is always a challenge, right? Like bringing two teams together. You've got two event teams, but talk about sort of just, 1 + 1 = 3 when you can bring good teams together, and the challenge and opportunity of change management when you're doing so. Yeah,
acquisitions are always lumpy and bumpy. We've definitely been doing our best to make it smooth sailing as much as possible. But I think the cultural fit between our teams, the people that are really driving it with Splash and Cvent, has made this really successful. I mean, we started activating together immediately, and just seeing our sales team and our entire go-to-market team embrace each other. One thing that's been great about the 1 + 1 = 3 is a lot of our gaps were Cvent's strengths, a lot of Cvent's gaps were areas where Splash really shines. So it's been fun to see what our brands together can do.
Well, it's great to hear that there's a culture fit across those teams. That becomes really foundational to making sure that works. And then recognizing as well that, like, hey, listen, there's never a purely smooth path to the integration, right? There's always going to be bumps along the road. But when you've got a values match and when you can be focused on the North Star and say, we're all going to work on getting this there together, like that's really meaningful. And that can be rare in those M&A kind of situations.
Yeah, and I think Cvent has done a good job in recognizing Splash's work with marketers. And that was an area that with Cvent's acquisitions of Jiffle Now and iCapture that happened prior to Splash, they've really embraced our presence within the community, our work with marketing to marketers. And it's been a really great value add for the Splash people at Cvent and vice versa.
So one of the cool things I know you're working on is really better leveraging the tools at your disposal. And so you've got the ability here to sort of drink your own champagne with some of the event tools you have. But even as great as those tools are, alone, they probably aren't sufficient to really manage the overall event experience the way you want to. So what are some of the key components of the tech stack you think are really driving greater event experiences for your customers and buyers?
Yeah. So a lot of times Cvent has talked about like the total event program. When we think about different events, I mean, we're here at Forrester, Cvent is powering this. You checked in our badges and all the things that you've been doing within the app are powered by Cvent. And it's great to have a big third-party event presence.
Yep.
We've got a lot of ancillary events. That's where Splash would be typically used by customers to get their private dinners together, get those fun happy hours outside of the event. There are lots of teams here using Jiffle Now. So was over at Club 6 with 6 Sense, and they're power users of Jiffle Now. And so those meetings and that serendipity that happens at these third-party events and your hosted events all coming together within this stack. And I think on top of that, your integrations are mission critical. Obviously, all of these tools are pushing back into Salesforce, HubSpot, wherever your single source of truth is kept.
Yep.
So you can then action on that. So we really like to think about all these tools coming together for marketers to be able to cover their full event program. So you're not leaving programs to chance and you're getting that ROI back in the systems that matter.
What do you think is going to drive the next phase of event-led growth? What are the components? What are the strategies, the integrations? What should we be looking for those that are buying what you're laying down here and also those that are already following an event-led growth playbook? What should they be looking at next and prioritizing over the next year plus?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think two big themes there. One being AI and how AI is going to augment this whole process, and particularly around personalization. So when we all go to events, we expect them to be more and more accustomed to who we are and what we want to learn about, what we care about. So I think for events, we keep upping the ante, and the next technology advancements are going to help us really get there in terms of these custom experiences that feel really personalized and allow for direct follow-up that is impactful and that ultimately results in that revenue or expansion opportunity.
Why do you personally continue to prioritize events like this? I know Cvent's a sponsor. This is a key part of your own pipeline activation. But to be able to spend time with other marketers, be able to spend time with your peers, like why is that, like prioritizing that time and place of doing it live? Why is that a priority for you?
Yeah, I think it's how we're wired as humans from a biological perspective, from a memory perspective. It's really amazing to see people coming by the booth and saying, hey, it's our annual meeting. I was here and met you last year.
Yeah.
See those connections being made. You and I are in communities together, and I feel like putting that face to name, getting out of the Zoom box and into real life, even though you can still forge those relationships, certainly virtually, I feel like it solidifies so much more in the human experience to have that relationship.
100%.
And I think we recognize that from an internal events perspective. It's really meaningful to meet with your team and interact and have an experience together. And it's no different, I think, in a buying journey. Humans still want to buy from humans. And I think as we get more digital, we crave more of that human interaction. So we just need to be smart about it.
Love it. Kate Hammett, VP of Marketing at Cvent. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Matt.